So we have a full board here. Isn't that nice? So I'd like to remind anyone who's watching on TV that it is hunting season. If you're going to go in the woods, wear orange. If you need to understand what seasons are going on, please visit the Fish and Game website. And if you're interested in hunting on conservation property, visit our website, merrimack.outdoors.org, and verify that that site allows hunting, because not all of them do. So, anyone else have any other announcements? All right, given that, no one here tonight from the public, so no public comment, no appointments, no statutory business, right to old business, and the beaver policy review. So I know we've been spending a lot of meetings going over beaver stuff. We've got our beaver management study. We've got beaver activities, which we'll talk a little bit more about later on in the meeting. But one thing that's been going on is there's been a beaver policy since 2002. I believe you all got a copy of it. The questions I have for folks is do we like the policy? Do we want to change it? And you can obviously tell, because I put it on the agenda, that we might want to make some adjustments, but that's just my opinion. So, you want me to go through the policy quickly and give you a quick overview of the 4 pages that encompass the policy? If anyone's watching the meeting, the policy is available on the MCC town website. So if you go to the town website and find the Conservation Commission, scroll all the way to the bottom of that page and you'll find the beaver policy. So it starts out with a couple of 3 paragraphs of background information. Then it states the policy part, which starts with a goal. And the goal says, beaver and their habitat found in town of Merrimack shall be protected to the fullest extent possible, and will be controlled through the use of sound wildlife management techniques consistent with state law. And then after that, there are a number of objectives that go through, and with each objective is some wording as to how that objective is going to be attained. At least I believe that was the intent of all of those. So that's kind of a quick overview of the 4 pages that make up the policy. So, any thoughts? Have you all had a chance to take a look at it? I know that the town public works folks and town managers, manager and assistant have certainly been looking at it, because we've been following it, especially with Adam and Kyle. We've been dealing with them a lot. So, Gage, you want to weigh in?
Yeah,
being our beaver guy.
I just have a couple of comments. One is that we are on the verge, but we are close to having a management policy presented to us from GZA that obviously you all know about. So I'm a little hesitant to say we should make changes to this right now and then get this management policy and say, oh yeah, we should have included that, or we should have done this. So why I'd like to make some changes to this. I don't want to make them finalized, certainly until we've had a chance to review the other policy that we're going to be getting from the plan that we're going to be getting from GZA. And GZA has also agreed to look at this, and from a little bit of a quasi-legal, a little bit of an environmental point of view, to say, look, here's some of the things maybe you should also consider. That is not done yet, so I would like those 2 things to be part of our plan, or part of this policy. Third is have a little nuance, I think, to the beaver management policy that we keep talking about. Is long ago when we started talking about the management plan for Greater Woods, we got away from said no, it's a stewardship plan, and kind of in that same ilk. I am not so much inclined to say that this maybe is a beaver management policy, but a water level management policy, because the beavers are, no one's really having a problem with the beaver. They're having a problem with the water, and I know it's kind of flip side of the same coin, but I just, maybe from your own little point of view, if you put that in the back of your head while you're thinking about these things, because we're not really trying, we're doing, or trying to do very little wildlife management, trying to leave them be as much as possible. What we're really addressing is the water, the impoundment of the water. So just something for you to think about as you're going through this. And lastly is the one item in here that I think we need to, that I do really want to have change, is we've made the town departments, which are, town employees, are required to come to us, a volunteer organization, to, unless there's some type of impending emergency, they have to come to us for approval, so to speak, to do work, which I think is probably not really the correct way to address that. So those are, my initial thoughts about this. So I don't know if anyone else has looked at it through that point of view yet, but that's mine.
Anyone else have any comments?
I think that makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's not time efficient to dig in and make a ton of changes that may just be undone depending on the outcome of something. I like the idea of rephrasing it into a water level being the issue thing, because I fear that if we call it beaver, it's too divisional. People see it as an issue rather than something they can all get behind.
Along that same, if you look at Wildcat Falls, so now we're going to have a muskrat management plan to deal with the fact that there's stuffing reeds in that drain.
Right.
We've determined it's really not beaver causing that problem over there. It's something else.
Yeah.
So.
Just say wildlife or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, not so, changing the title, whatever. I mean, more of a point of view. I think maybe we need to consider this as more of a water level or impoundment type of an issue than a wildlife management.
Also, calling it a water level management policy would have allowed us to do something after the 2005 storm when a dam blew out. Maybe rebuilding the dam would have saved that area of Old Blood Road. So, that wasn't, the beaver didn't push that dam out, the water did.
So my thought of putting this on the agenda tonight was to have this kind of a conversation, knowing that GZA was doing some work. It was kind of part of our whole contract, was to get input from them, but figuring that they may not have completed their work, this is our opportunity as a commission, as a full board, by consensus, saying this is what we like about the current policy, this is what we don't like about the current policy, and that way they can maybe tailor their comments, knowing some of the thoughts that we have here. So
I guess one thing I'd like to see in it a little bit more, or maybe more clearly, is, and this may just be work, we discuss policy versus guidelines to like the nth degree at times, and I think there can be a difference here with what our policy is in terms of what actually happens in a situation and what do we follow, and then what are the guidelines that kind of draw beyond that, things that we'd like to see happen when possible, things we need to see happen every time, those kinds of distinctions, so we can say here's the best possible outcome in any situation and here's what guides us through that. So there's that level of, I know when they gave us the presentation a couple weeks ago, is here are some different options, and so we can have those options sort of built into this and where they are appropriate and where they're not appropriate in the town.
So, in building of the map that we looked at, GZA has an assessment sheet that they go through and they record what they've seen, what's the wildlife, what's the water, all the other characteristics, and that's what's generating that map and generating the characters that show up on that map. Obviously, some of it is a little bit more of a scientific bend than what we're looking for. So I have spoken with GZA, and what they're going to do is try to make a form for us, so people have the ability to go in and make an assessment. So we're all looking kind of the same form. That's something that can get, data-wise, can get data input. It can be captured on the map, but it also can be captured on the work order system, so we know what areas have been addressed and what was seen at the time. How much water was there, how big was the dam, how tall, whatever characteristics they put in. So, and like you said, that is then going to lend itself to hopefully some kind of matrices that says, okay, we have these issues, we have these options, and here we go is the best one. Simplifying it maybe a little bit, but that's the plan, so to speak. So this is, like you said, this is gonna have to encompass some changes as to, you know, what are our options? Not just, we're gonna use the state laws, okay, well, it doesn't really, now that's a whole nother project.
Yeah.
You know, go read those all and find out what's going on.
And I'd like to, just echo the comment you made. We're kind of put in the middle of this whole
Right.
process that's spelled out, and that has been proven to be very difficult. Proven for me to be difficult to deal with, proven for Gage, who has been our Beaver Point person, and I think frustrating at times to the town folks who just wanted to be able to go in and react.
Yep.
And wanted to know that this was the appropriate thing to do at this time. So, yeah. So we need to figure out a way to take us out of the loop, unless it's a critical situation that we believe we need to be in the middle of. But I don't think the routine we need to be part of. So,
If you want, that one place that it says that, if you look on page 2, item number 8,
Yep.
the, it's pretty well spelled out there that town departments have to come to us for, almost for permission to do some work, and it's really,
Needs to be changed.
what happens, something happens in summer and we're not having a quorum, and our meeting, we don't end up having a quorum meeting for over a month. Now we're telling the town, you gotta sit and wait. It's just doesn't really make sense to me.
Seems like there may be some good bounds on that, where like, if they're talking about trapping and removing or
Yeah.
that sort of thing should go to a broader group, whereas installing a device, dealing with a problem, or in an emergency situation, dealing with there's a place for that, but not in every situation.
Exactly.
makes sense?
Yep.
Okay. So I let Adam know that we were kind of looking at this and that there was more work to follow, so we could get his input as well. I haven't seen it yet, I don't think, and I apologize if he has sent it to me. I've just been very preoccupied lately. So we'll talk about this more, but I wanted to get it on your radar screens, as this is part of the overall beaver issues we've been dealing with, and a piece that we need to get on with. Anyone else have anything else on this agenda item?
Only that I have a,
Can we make sure your light's on? Is it
Just-
on? There you go.
oh, okay. Thank you.
Cool.
First test passed.
Yeah, there you go.
I have an article from the New York Times called Reversing Course on Beavers that I was just going to hand out just to talk more about the benefits of beavers, and that you can read at your leisure.
Okay,
So
all right. Are you going to speak to that tonight, or are you just going to let us take a
just
peek at it?
you could take
Okay,
it home.
all right, because if you want to speak to it, what I was going to ask you to do was to forward me the link so our minutes taker could
Oh, okay.
could extract from it, as we went over it. So, cool. All right, anything else? Wow. We did get loud, didn't we? Okay. All right. Mike, do you mind asking if we've got is that better? A cell phone? Yeah.
Maybe that other recording device.
It's
That's been sitting next to that microphone for.
for 2 years. Yeah, and I used it when I was on the council for years, so that's never caused that, so. All right, well, it sounds better now, right? Okay, good. All right, so next on our agenda is funding for police patrols at Greater Woods. So, what this item is for is I had after our last meeting, I had a discussion with Chief Doyle, Lieutenant Tarleton, Captain Albert, and Captain Dudash in regards to patrols, because what I've done is I've invited them to come to our next meeting, the meeting on the 17th of November, to get down to more specifics. And what I thought I could do with that meeting was to give them an idea of what the commission was thinking, also making them aware that our meetings are all taped so they could go view them as well. And to give them an opportunity to start thinking about what it is they believe they would need in order to do the patrols. While we had that discussion going on, one of the general themes that came from them was it'd be great if we're going to do the patrols, they'd like to have the opportunity to provide education to the folks that they encounter on the trails. So that way, not only could they say, hey, you know, you really don't belong or you shouldn't be having that activity, but oh, by the way, here's some more information where you can find out more about it, because it's their belief and mine, and I think all of ours probably, when you think about it, that most of the folks who do things inappropriate on the property probably aren't aware that they're doing something they shouldn't be doing. There are some, and there are abusers that are very well aware of what they're doing, and they do it anyways. But I would think the majority of folks probably aren't aware. They might be riding in from a private property that abuts ours, and then all of a sudden find themselves in a spot where they're not supposed to be. So the police would like an opportunity to educate, and one of the ways I thought that we might get to that was to maybe we should prepare a pamphlet that the officers could hand out at the time and make them aware of what was going on. I know on Horse Hill, the pamphlet we used was the trail map pamphlet. We probably want to do something similar, maybe in size or in the way it bends and the way it works, but maybe want to address some of the things we're having issues. What's more complicated about our property, about the Greater Woods property as opposed to Horse Hill, is Horse Hill had no motorized use on any of its trails, where we have a mixed bag. And trying to go through and explain the A class and the D class and the C class even caused some confusions at the meeting I was having. So that's why in the email that I forward all of you, you'll see a discussion about pamphlets. They kind of grabbed a hold of that, and that's why you see that. So the other general themes that came out of that meeting was there we're going to gather some cost information. It's what they believe a patrol would cost, whether it's hours or some way, so we can have an idea of what cost it would be to have them do patrols, and that way we can start thinking about, as we meet with them, how much money we want to allocate to doing this, knowing that it costs so much money. They said the patrols would be dedicated. They would, you know, the officers doing the patrols would be there because they're doing our patrols. They wouldn't be mixing it as part of another duty or something else. They did stress that if there was an extreme emergency and they were one of the closest officers to the scene and something needed to be done, that they would break away and go manage that, and that's kind of an obvious. You know, that's, you know, there's no reason not to. They commented on the fact that they do have forms to fill out for the grant patrols that they do, and I think you might see some of this, or maybe saw it in some previous information, that they'd be happy to figure out how we want to capture that kind of information as well. I explained to them that I think we're interested in understanding a form or something that gets filled out after a patrol. So one, we can collect any feedback as to what they encountered, but also that way we can justify the use of our conservation funds. If someone said, well, you spent, you know, $8,000 on police patrols, what did you do for that money? And well, right here, it's all documented. So. So the other thing we were asked to be thinking about is, do we want to start the patrols at a particular time of year? Do we want to have them do lots of patrols and then kind of fade away? Or do we want to have patrols just be consistently stretched across? Is there a particular time of day of the week? All that kind of information. And I'm throwing out a lot of different things, but maybe we want to discuss some of that tonight, so that way when we visit with them in 2 weeks, we'll have answers. I thought, and I'll close on this part of it and then let you all talk, but I thought that it would take us a meeting or two or three or whatever to get this in place, and by the time we did that, the snow would be flying. And we might want to have everything all situated with maps or pamphlets and have it all ready to go as soon as we think we want to do it in the spring, especially with mud season coming. That might be an ideal opportunity. So I'll stop talking, and any general things we want to make sure that we have in place or we want to address. I did tell the chief, you know, you can watch the replay of this meeting if you want to have that background before you come in 2 weeks. So realize when you're talking to us, they're probably going to listen too. So
I mean, by far, I think the heaviest need is on weekends. And so, they would have to be patrolling on weekends. I don't know if that's an issue for the police department or the individuals.
I don't think so. I think a lot of their DWI and other kinds of patrols are done that way, so.
Yeah, I like the idea of trying to tailor it to a specific time, well, not a specific time of year, but the time of heavy use. Obviously, this time of year where, school's out and it's dark fairly quick, probably the, ATV use up there is probably limited, so. But we've been dealing with it for so long, I don't think we've ever really kept track of when we've had spikes versus lulls in activity out there, so.
Definitely summer weekends.
Right.
Is that when you hear them the most?
That's when they're out the most, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they're out in the wintertime also,
Mm-hmm.
but it's weekends. Don't you agree?
But in the wintertime, do you hear, ATV traffic, or do you hear just snowmobiles?
Oh,
Shooting.
there's four-wheelers out in the
Yeah.
wintertime.
Oh, yeah, I know there are.
Yeah.
To the
Yeah,
same
it's not-
level of,
No, I mean, you don't have the motorbikes out, but definitely summer weekends
yeah.
are the busiest time, I think.
Yeah, I would think initially we should, they'd have to kind of be spaced out relatively evenly until we figure out when those, high usage times are versus when they're not.
So we may have to sample till we know.
There may be data on that too from somewhere, from
Yeah.
other
They may
towns,
have,
other
but,
parks.
yeah,
I mean, I'm sure there are wider trend. Yeah, and they may have some of that. So
I think, though, like, summer weekends are definitely,
yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, even in terms of time of day, at least what I've read from other projects is that, you say 11 o'clock on a Saturday morning, you're not going to have huge usage because there's going to be so many pedestrians and people walking their dogs and that sort of thing. It's the later in the day on a Friday night or a Saturday night that are the peak times for those kinds of activities because you have fewer of the general public there. And so I've read some of that.
I would agree that
yeah.
there's more in the afternoon than the morning.
So I think if we can gather some of that information, that'll help.
So,
They've been getting a grant almost, I've got it on. They've been getting a grant almost every year.
mm-hmm.
So there should be some, as you said, that, there should be some, they should have data about when they have patrolled other areas and at what times. And they also have the calls.
Right.
Okay, also have the dispatch record for the contacts with the public who call complaining that they're hearing this kind of thing or they saw it or whatever. So they'll, it's not perfect, but it's a heck of a lot of a better indicator than sitting here and going, well, what do you think?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because if they're going out and doing patrols, you want it to be targeted so it's actually doing something and not just for a nice walk.
Like, there's
Yeah.
nothing out during the day now,
Right.
hardly,
Right.
During the week.
I did mention that we would be interested in them doing bicycle patrols as well as motorized patrols.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with Matt. I mean, I would like to see them not on motorized patrol. I'd like to see them on mountain bikes or even on foot.
Yep.
I would think you're going to run into some situations where they may need to get somewhere relatively quickly, and that maybe a bicycle just may not. I just don't want to, lack of a better term, I don't want to handcuff them on what they can and can't do out there. I mean, we're looking for their support.
Mhm.
So if, we can have a preference and say, look, we'd like to try to use this as much as possible, but, patrol's patrol. We'd like people out there patrolling. Is that?
Yeah,
And will that be part of the cost?
Maintaining a machine or something.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, riding a bike is probably gonna be cheaper than
That's
paying the
pretty
gas,
quick, too. A bike's pretty quick.
even though I did pay
Depends on who's on it.
$2.89 today.
So I don't know whether they get any kind of reimbursement for the ATV when
Yeah.
they use it.
Yeah, I would think it's obviously, it's gonna be.
Probably not.
It's gonna be, more expensive, but.
I think
They can answer that question a lot.
Just as a whole, I mean, if you see somebody out there and they're doing what you're not supposed to be doing and they're telling you not to do it, you're not going to listen as well.
That's exactly what I was gonna say.
Right.
If they're gonna patrol, all of the trails
Right,
and
yeah.
try to do it on an
Yeah.
ATV when we're saying you shouldn't have an
Yeah, right, they should set the example then,
Yeah.
right, yeah. No, I understand.
And they can interact better if they don't have,
Yeah.
face helmet on and, on making the noise, they can hear it, stop, talk
And they
to
can
people.
approach things with a little more stealth on foot or on a bicycle.
Yeah. Yeah, you certainly hear the motorized use coming at you or going on the trail that's parallel to you.
I agree completely, but I'm just saying, is
It's you.
Yeah.
if if someone's tearing down Red Maple, and they don't even know they're being pursued, and I'm just saying that's the type of situation where you'd like them. I know they're not supposed to be on the motorized trail, but if someone's on the trail that they're not supposed to be on, and they're now we're like, okay, well, we can't catch them. We just hope we're gonna run into them later on. That's my only concern. I'm not saying I want them out there on motorcycles. I'm just saying, or ATVs or whatever. That would be my concern. So I mean, they may have an easy way to address that. They may be able to say, oh, that's not, we can do pictures or whatever. So I don't know, but that's obviously something that just is a concern.
We should talk about it then, yep. So one of the comments that came out was trail signs and trail markings, and I told them that we've been trying to do as much as we can. Of course, we've had some vandalism with some of our stuff, but they were hoping that before we started the patrols that we would have as much of it in place as possible. So, and I think that's a process we're working on, so.
For Greater Woods, it's done.
Yeah.
It's marked.
Mm-hmm.
I think the one thing that we need, when they're going to patrol the school portion too, I would imagine.
I would imagine, yeah.
So we just need to coordinate with the school and make sure that we're going to be okay with marking all the trails.
Oh, so we haven't marked the trails on school property?
No, the last two meetings, I always get it wrong. I don't know what to call them. I've been corrected many times, but I still can't get it. A piece of the school board
Yeah.
has been scheduled to attend our Greater Woods meeting, but they haven't been able to make it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's possible that they'll be there at the November meeting. I'm not sure that they're going to make it, but if they do, we'll bring that up to them then.
Okay.
But yeah, we've been attempting to address this with the school board. We've offered to sign their area, but it's been kind of on hold.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
The public has asked us to sign that area too, but the school's uncertain of whether they want that marked consistent with the way we've marked the rest of the trails.
Okay.
We're gonna address it in November.
So let me know how that goes, or let us know.
We'll do.
Yeah. Okay, so is creating a pamphlet something that we as the commission want to put together? Is that something that the subcommittee would want to put together? And then if also, I was thinking maybe at the meeting with the representatives from the PD that we could discuss what types of things we want to see in the pamphlet. So do you want to wait and have that discussion after the discussion with the PD as to who's going to actually execute the creation? Or do we have a...
If they have specific items that they want to see in it, I'd like to get their input first
Yeah.
before we, make a pamphlet and then find out, oh, that's...
Yeah, I wasn't thinking that
No.
we'd create one right away, but I didn't know if the commission thought it was something that we should handle at the commission's level, or should we push that towards the subcommittee to see if they were interested in doing it? Do you have, as chair, do you have a thought on that?
Well, the one of the members of the subcommittee did make a pretty nice, I guess what could be turned into a pamphlet. Shoot. One of the subcommittee members created a signage for the kiosk, and it's a color-coded map, and a piece of the stewardship plan that shows what trails allowed what usage. So that would make a good trifold pamphlet, I believe.
Okay. All right, so let's then at the November, at the, our follow-on meeting, decide on what we think are the items that need to be in the pamphlet. And then we can figure out later how we execute that. But yeah. Okay. So is everyone of the impression that of actually starting this next year then? Actually, the patrol's starting next year. Is there any reason why we would want to expedite it and have them start sooner than that?
No.
Okay.
The only thing that's going on, we're seeing some kindling being, there's some small fires going on up there.
Well, it's cold.
Yeah, I know. That's exactly.
And there's
You
still
know,
a
and
lot
when you're
of shooting.
drinking beer, it gets colder.
Still, yeah.
Shooting,
Still a lot of shooting, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I spent a lot of this past Thursday there, and shooting quite a bit. And by the time I get up there, they had left, but they, brought a ton of pumpkins and some more political signage that was riddled with bullets. So it's still very active, and that was 2:00 on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Damn retirees.
Seniors.
Okay. Any other points, any other things we want to discuss and have a decision on before we meet with the PD? Anything jump out at anyone? Okay. I think we pretty much covered everything that I had. The only other item I had is, and we can probably wait on this, but is, once we have everything together, do we want to do like a quick training class with some of the officers that might be involved? Obviously, we're not going to accompany them on the patrols because they'll be doing their job, and we don't want to be put in harm's way, and that we don't want to be a liability as well. But do we maybe want to do that? So, there was one other point that I didn't make a note on, and that is I'd like to see from the commission that there'd be a point person for the commission who owns the patrols and owns the interaction for all that. And I did bring that up with Chief Doyle at the meeting, that there probably should be one point person with the police department that is the point of contact. So is that something we agree with? Is there someone who wants to volunteer to be the point person for patrols on Greater Woods?
Whatever Mike wants to do it.
So you,
I mean, you've had contact with the police too. I mean, we can also have
I mean,
two contacts.
you're right, there's no reason not to have a second or backup person,
Yeah.
but as long as you guys can work together that way.
Sure.
So,
Like, I might be able to get out there or something for some reason during the week,
yeah,
or you might not be able to.
so,
But you have more experience with dealing with them and with the trails.
yeah, I mean, they may have a question during the process, and instead of having to come to me or the commission, they can call, and set it up, all right. So when we meet with them in 2 weeks, we'll let them know that. And you'll probably have to provide phone number or contact information in case they don't have it yet, so. Okay. Cool. moving right along.
Before we get to the next item,
Sure.
depending on the nature of the conversation,
Yeah.
at some point I may have to step
Okay.
out. So I have potential conflicts depending on the nature of our
Okay.
decision on it. So
All right.
I don't think it will be different than where we stand as a commission. So
Okay, so we're done with the police patrols. Does that help? No? Okay.
Are your mics a little bit closer so the cables aren't just hanging straight off?
A little closer so they're not. All right.
We're turning into an antenna?
Yeah, there you go. Is it a quarter wavelength?
Yeah. Or a harmonic.
You're even loud. So, yeah, it's still loud. I just don't know how that's going to go over on the TV.
Well, if this is on at 2 o'clock in the morning, it might have an impact. But then again, if it's entertainment for the insomniacs, it's not gonna bother them that much.
Okay. So, when I first put this agenda, the next agenda up under new business, which is the pipeline expansion and potential termination in Merrimack, that was the information I had. That there is a natural gas line that's being proposed to enter the state, and it's actually a spur off a main line that's going to be traversing most of Massachusetts and ending in Dracut, I believe, right now. And they wanted an extension line that headed into New Hampshire. The thought was that it would go through the town of Hollis and terminate in the southwestern corner of Merrimack. I wasn't aware if the town was tracking it. I know that there's been an awful lot of conversations in Hollis. There's been numerous meetings, and I had seen things in the news and really wasn't following it, because the last time I had checked on it myself, I was told that it's a Hollis, or maybe a Hollis-Amherst line, and that Merrimack wasn't involved. And my latest email exchanges with Merrimack Village District, who has been watching this for the town in general, is that the termination in Merrimack is probably not going to happen, that the latest plans show it going to staying within the town of Hollis and being picked up outside of Merrimack. So, but since it was already on the agenda, I just wanted to let folks know that there is something going on. The routes are being debated as to where they should go, where they should be. Initial routing brought it through parts of Beaver Brook. And then I just wanted to open it up to the commission and number one, use this as an opportunity to educate the public that there is something going on in a neighboring town of ours. And then see if the commission wanted to learn more about it, whether the commission wanted to take a stance on this, or whether this is just something we want to watch. Anyone have any general thoughts? Because I can get into details, bring up websites, but if you're curious about it and haven't looked into it, you can Google it and you'll find out a lot of information. There is an upcoming open house happening in Hollis on the 18th of November. The open house is, my understanding from reading on it, is an opportunity for you to go to the Hollis Brookline High School and go in, and representatives of the company that's proposing to put in the pipeline will be there. There'll be various stations set up, and you can go and talk to various people about what it is that's being planned, ask questions, and learn more about it. I don't know, from what I read, whether or not there's going to be any sort of formal discussions as an entire group. I didn't get that impression. So,
my impression is strictly informational.
Yeah.
And that's it.
yeah. So,
So there's no public hearing, no public comment, nothing like that.
Yeah.
Just strictly informational.
Yeah, and the people who want to comment are encouraged to follow the process that's set up, because this is following a process that involves the state and federal governments, and there's a thing that they have to do and all of that. And if you were interested in seeing everyone's comments, you can get yourself registered, and every time someone submitted something, you'd get that input, so you can stay aware of what's going on. But again, I didn't know if the commission had an interest in delving into this further or whatever, so I left it on the agenda. Tom, do you have anything to share from the town's perspective?
No, not really. You know, we saw a map that terminated somewhere on 101A. You know, all you have to do is go out there and look for those little funny pipes out there that they have to mark where the gas pipeline goes. It either follows 101A or the rail right of way. From what I've seen, and that's and we haven't been involved in it because there would be minimal impact in terms of where it crossed and came into the town because of the funny way that the boundaries between Hollis and Amherst and Merrimack all merge, and they're there, then they're gone, then they're there, then they're gone. Piece of it. I will say that, and my colleagues have heard this and they just roll their eyes, but when I was in Pelham in 1980 or 81, they ran a line through the town to Drake it, which was immediately south of the town at the time. And obviously in the early 1980s, there wasn't the level of growth or the level of density of population in Merrimack. Some of them went through very wide open fields that are now built over. But they were in and they were out. They don't waste any time. They come in, they drill their hole, they drop the pipe in, they weld it, they test it, they cover it up, and they move on to the next section. And it was just boom, 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 and they were done in 6 to 8 weeks. And then all you saw was where they had gone back over and backfilled, and then in the spring it grew back in. So anyway, but like I said, there was none of the outcry that you get now. They had then, quite frankly, the landowners were sort of pleased that they were getting paid for the right-of-way rights at that time. Now, not so much, but but like I said, they were very concerned. They were very, willing to talk to people and make sure they understood what they were doing. And we don't. It's not like there's a 50-year-old pipe in the ground that's going to blow up. But anyway, like I said, I went through it. They came to the town. There was maybe across a couple of town parcels, but most of it was on private property. And then their interaction was with the property owners. So that was 35 years ago.
Would
Go
it
ahead.
be putting you on the spot to just have you talk about it a little bit? I mean, can you just...
Yeah, I can express what the concerns are of
Yeah,
at least the
that's what I'm just...
organizations I'm
Right.
tied to. Outside of Merrimack, there's some concern that it appears that the organization is targeting conservation land because it is easier in their eyes to take via eminent domain, and they don't have to pay as much for it. So it goes through multiple hundreds of acres of conservation easement and restricted properties in other towns, which is why there has been a lot of concern that they need to explore alternative routes, or should explore alternative routes. The Attorney General has said you should try to look at other routes because conservation land is there for public benefit and for a reason, and generally that reason is not, for this, but it is a public utility project, so they can use eminent domain. And so that's where most of the concern that I've seen has been, is that, it seems to follow a lot of these big parcels of high quality habitat. And, is that necessary? Are there alternative routes that they can follow to make it better for everyone? So,
It's pretty much what I'd read too. So
Yeah.
I didn't know if that was like, there's some other stuff brewing that we just didn't
no,
know
I mean,
about.
that's been everyone's concern, is, at least that I've seen, is not that they're necessarily opposed to it, it's just they aren't comfortable with the route that has been proposed.
I know the route that was taking it into Merrimack took it right near our town wells, which
Right.
posed a number of issues, so.
Yeah, quite frankly, we went to Woods.
Yeah.
You know, we just turned and looked at him, what's going on?
Yeah, yeah,
You know, because he's a commissioner, so.
right, yeah. Councilman Woods is also on the village district as well, so he has double hats, so. All right. Okay,
And apparently DES told them that they should avoid wellhead protection areas and those sorts of things.
Yep.
Which is probably why they're not gonna come through there, because of the angle and whatnot. The wellhead protection area just cuts them off,
yeah, it cuts, you're right, it literally cuts them off,
yeah.
so. Any other discussion on this item? Okay. All right. I'm happy to leave it, just wanted to make sure everyone was aware, that's all. All right, moving right along then. That takes us to other business. So we'll start up with probably the one that'll take the most time, and that's the beaver management activities. I noticed you sent me an email, and I didn't get a chance to really look at it. Is that something you want to bring up?
I sent it to everybody.
Okay.
You saw, I didn't get,
No, I sent it up to the
Today.
Conservation Commission, so that group that's on our, hopefully you're part of that. We should,
Yeah.
we can go
Oh,
back,
yeah,
and
no.
check that, so.
Right.
We tentatively voted, or tentatively kind of agreed last meeting to allow Paul, as my understanding, going through the minutes, that we kind of allowing Paul as, the acting town manager and as the finance director to go ahead with, repairing or addressing some of our high priority areas, typically the Powder House Road dam, the Meadowwoods Pond Dam, if the quotes were reasonable. And I received a set of quotes today. It was not from both companies, we only got from one, but both GZA and Paul seem to be comfortable with them. So I just wanted to, if we're okay with it, to allow them to go forward and address, at least at a minimum, Meadowwoods Pond.
Do you want me to put them on the big screen?
Sure.
you know, I didn't get the quotes. I didn't get this. Yeah, okay, I thought he was talking about something else at first. Thanks.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
better.
that's good.
I love how they're now called areas.
Areas?
Yeah, those are the numbers that are
Yeah.
associated with
Which,
it.
so,
So there's two, we asked the
So
contractors
where's
to,
Area 51?
Exactly.
because we do have one, we do have an Area 51.
Yeah,
We asked the contractors
not a high
to,
priority?
yeah, we asked them to break it down and each project be its own quote. So if they're installing, regardless of, like, Meadowwoods Pond, we're asking them to install 2 to up to 3 devices. There's gonna be something in the dam itself to allow water flow, and then there's gonna be a protection around both the main outlet and the overflow. So, you'll see, so that's why you see the Mayflower is in two, quotes. There's one for the for the overflows and the drains, and then there's one for the dam itself.
Cindy, we'll have to get you a town email address. We'll have to talk about that in a moment, so. Get you all.
The quotes were more reasonable than I expected them to be. But that's
Same.
Right, that's
I was
why,
happy.
that's why when Paul seemed to be very, he's like, yeah, these are much more reasonable, these are reasonable, and as we all discussed anyways, the Meadowwoods Pond is the priority, so he wants to start getting the appeal process going, so.
So this is the leveler pipe. This one?
Yep.
Flexible pond leveler.
And that's material
That's-
delivery and installation?
That's installed, yes.
Installed, yeah, wow, that's a great price.
Yep.
Compared to what we were thinking, okay.
And Tracy, GZA expressed to these folks initially about, the fact that there'd be a town or town employees assisting, and they were like, yeah, that happens all the time. So they're very used to it and didn't seem to have any issue with allowing, people watching or assisting them in the installation process.
Okay, and these folks are experienced at this?
Yes. Yeah, this is one of the two large companies that do this all over the country.
Okay.
Yep.
Beaver Solutions, okay.
Right.
Right, and then this is the same thing? Oh,
No, I'm sorry, this is the actual dam. Yeah, that's the actual dam, and the other one is for the protection devices around the overflows.
Oh, I see, okay. All right, all right. Right, 40 feet of 15-inch diameter, okay. Yep.
So the pipe goes from inside the beaver deceiver through the dam to the other side?
So, yeah, this one there's going to be, is my understanding of it, is that this pipe would be through the dam.
Yeah.
Of a 15-inch pipe. And the height, the flex, it's a flexible tube, so where you adjust the height to, that's what now the height of the pond is going to be. And we discussed the height of the pond last meeting, so they're gonna make that assessment when they get there, because we're trying to keep it in excess of 4 feet, so the beavers still have a place to swim. So that dam is gonna be, that pond is gonna be dropped to that level.
And the intake of that pipe is gonna be inside a deceiver?
It's gonna be in some kind of fenced, right, and underwater, so there's no sound. And then the outlet would be on the other side, and then flowing into that small secondary space in front of the outlets. And both those outlets would have some type of cage device around them to stop from being plugged.
Yep.
No, I think that pricing is very reasonable.
Yep.
Mhm.
So, altogether, we're talking less than $4,000.
Yes. Yeah. So we have not received a quote yet. We gave them 4 areas. We've not received a quote yet for the Mitchell Woods Dam.
Okay.
That's the 4th one.
Yeah.
But the other, there's these 2, right, which is one project, and then there's the Greens Pond Road, which is we're assuming that we only have to do the inlet side, and that would cure the other problem, which is area 10, I believe it, wasn't it? 10,
Yeah.
I think.
Okay, 10 and 22 are kind of
Yeah.
tied together.
Right.
Yeah. Did you get a chance to see that you were here for
Yes.
Tracy's presentation?
Yes, I was here
right?
for that, yeah.
Okay. Great. So, do we want a motion, or do we all want to nod our heads?
Either way.
Go ahead,
Yep.
Gage.
Well, I guess my question is
Your
this
pleasure.
well, I have a question first before we do it. Are we paying for all these, or is this going to be done as the part of the town? Is something coming out of the town budget? Where's that money coming from? I mean, the conservation properties, obviously like something like Greens Pond, I think that's, we probably kind of own that one, but
What we do
the
with
Meadowwood,
Meadowwoods
yeah,
Hill?
right, the Meadowwoods Pond is that ours?
It is.
Okay.
It was deeded for conservation.
Okay. So I guess then we could, do we want to do them separately, or do we want to have one motion for all three?
So make one motion.
I'm okay with one motion for all three.
So I'd like to make a motion then to accept the quotes as is and then pass them on to Paul for PO structure, and it's gonna come out of Fund
53.
53.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions, that passes 7-0-0.
Okay.
Great, cool. And Tracy will be monitoring, she'll be doing the
Yes.
management, like, per the contract? Excellent. Cool. Great, well, at least we're making a start.
Yeah, well, and I'll notify Paul tomorrow and Tracy, and we can get going.
I spoke to that woman who lives on Mayflower on Sunday.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I forgot her last name.
Thompson.
On Mayflower or on Powder House?
Powder.
The one that goes,
Yeah, the one who's
Was
property.
the
Okay.
flooding?
Yeah, I just told her that things were moving along.
Yeah.
And, so,
Okay.
Yeah.
Did that help?
yeah, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, she still has issues on her own property that she wants to take care of, but
Okay, so since we're going to do something, a piece of discussion came up is, do we want to notify the neighborhood that we're going to be making changes? I know, Tom, you had an opinion on that.
Yes, I did. I think you should.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's gonna cause some flack, but
Mhm.
if you don't do it, the flack's gonna be a lot worse,
Okay.
in my opinion. I mean,
yeah.
I just think it's a matter of, hey, look, this is what we're gonna do, this is why we're doing it, this is the impact it's gonna have. This is how far we're gonna take it down, and, the whole issue is the protection of the property. Okay?
I mean, if I lived there, I'd want to be notified,
Well,
so.
Yeah.
well, protection of the property and stabilizing the level.
Right.
Because that was one of the big complaints that we had is, this week it's at here, and next week it's here, and then it goes, that was what was causing a lot of angst also. So,
I think the two biggest complaints when the public was here for the public hearing was mosquitoes
and the smelly shoreline.
and the smelly shore.
Yeah.
And this time of year, both of those things aren't going to be a big concern. So we're addressing it at the right time of year.
Mm-hmm.
I think to take care of the level. So in the spring, there isn't the big fluctuation.
Mhm.
And in the spring is when their concerns arise, which is the smelly shoreline and the mosquitoes.
Okay.
So by then it should be taken care of.
Right. I think one other point that came out is they didn't want to see the beavers removed.
Right.
A number of them said we don't want to lose the beavers. And we're not
That was covered in the
we're
last
not
meeting.
proposing to do that either.
Right.
So
That's a last resort, and to that end also, that habitat has been identified as a exceptional habitat for beavers. So even if they are, this kit and clan moves on because they don't like the water level, the chance of another clan moving in is very high. So,
okay. So to put the notice together, who wants to put that together, or do you want me to take the discussion from tonight and turn that into a letter with the town?
do we have the letter that was sent out initially for the public meeting? Would that be worthwhile to draw from that to
Yep.
address, because those are the people that were there and showed up.
Yeah, that was in May of last year, so, okay. All right, but do you want me to bring that letter back to the next meeting of the commission, or do we think it'll be too late to decide on the words, or do you want me to, or, how do you want to proceed when it comes to the notice? You want me to put some words together and we decide in 2 weeks, or do you want me to move forward?
I would rather move
Forward.
forward.
Yeah,
'Cause if,
essence.
Get this
if
in
they,
soon.
they were doing a job, Beaver, these guys were doing a job, not very far from here, a week ago.
Okay.
If they can come back and start, this week, I'm sure Paul's gonna say yes, go,
Okay.
so.
Plus with the weather getting colder, I'm sure they want to get in and out of the water as soon as possible.
All right, I can work with the town to put a letter together based on our discussion, and I will forward you a copy once it's complete. So who do we notify? People with direct abutters, the entire Mayflower Powder House neighborhood? Do we touch on the Jessica Lane folks?
Who did the original letter go out to?
I don't recall.
I would think that would be the same pool.
Okay. So in case well, let me step back then. Do you want me to make sure that there's a minimum number of people that it hits?
Water or butters.
Yeah, I would think just the water abutters would be the minimum number.
Because I don't think we notified the folks on Jessica when we did this the last time, because they're on the high side of that pond. I don't recall anyone from that neighborhood coming.
There was definitely people there.
There were, okay.
Because when we had that walk, two of the folks I spoke with prior to there were
Okay. All right.
there
So
in the meeting, so.
right. So maybe they didn't speak at the meeting, but they attended.
Right.
Okay.
Offer a suggestion?
Yeah.
That you directly notify the people that are on the water?
Yeah.
And then you do some PSAs on the cable channel to let people know that this is a project that we're undertaking and why we're undertaking it. Would be another way to deal with it. Suggestion only.
Taping an announcement is something I don't have the time to do. It has to be done in the next couple of weeks.
Could the letter be the announcement?
Mm-hmm.
However many pages it is, because
All
I
right.
flipped through the channel and you
Then
see.
you just see the announcement scroll on there.
Right.
Okay. Yep. Yep. Okay.
There'll be a point of contact in that letter, right?
Yes, there would have to be, because people will ask questions. Yep, yep, absolutely. But I'll make sure I put a note in it, just so I don't lose that. Okay. Well, if you speak with Paul or whatever, let him know that this was also something that we wanted to do, and that I'll be putting some words together tomorrow night and get a hold of him.
Okay.
So, great. Anything else on this that you want to report? Any other things that we need to be aware of? Any general comments from Tracy about the study or anything like that?
No.
Okay.
No. Yes.
All right.
Just, anyone have any questions, I can certainly relay them and get them answered. No?
So, in case anyone's curious, Tracy is now a member of the board for the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commissions, because she's also an active volunteer in her town as well, so. Okay. So the next thing I want to bring up is 4 of us attended the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's annual meeting and conference this past Saturday. And this is an opportunity to talk about what we saw. It started with the normal business meeting where they talk about finances, which they're in better shape this year than they were in the previous year. They also spoke about some of the changes that have come by with the new director and program director, that's being Nick and Emily. And then we went right into various talks and sessions. So do one of you want to talk about the sessions that you attended? Everyone's jumping. The new person wants to talk. Is that what I heard?
Well, I attended, along with Mike, for new commissioners.
You can
And-
kill that.
Conservation Commission handled that seminar, and they did a good job. We got the big books that they hand out to newbies, though I haven't read through it yet,
Yeah.
but I will.
Why not?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Of course, you have to be sworn in first.
Right, yeah, exactly, right. I know, that's what I think.
Now you can read it.
So that was a good session to, even though I've been coming to the meetings, it was still good to kind of hear an overview from the perspective of, they've been like 20 years, I think, that they'd been on their commission, their particular commission, so they had a lot of experience. And then I attended someone's about wetlands and vernal pools and just, trying to learn more. And from DES, handled one of those. So I thought I was very impressed. It was good. It was a lot of information. But I know they're going to be sending some information too. One of the sessions I attended, all the notes that they took, they were going to send out to us. So I can share that with the commission if it's useful.
Matt, anything you want to add?
I saw some very good presentations. Nothing that I have to directly tie to Merrimack at this time,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's great knowledge. It's just building the knowledge base of our commission by going to these meetings.
Mike?
The only thing would be, as I mentioned to Gage earlier, that same commission had a beaver deceiver,
Oh, right.
and they said that it worked really well in maintaining, taking care of the problems they had with the water flow and their,
How long has it been in place?
It was a while. I don't remember.
At least 3 years, I think.
Yeah, at least,
It's been at
if
least
not.
3 years.
Did they talk about their maintenance on it at all?
I don't know if they knew, but they
Edge.
just said it's
Yeah.
been working great, and they haven't had a problem since they installed it. That's.
So they did. They talked about their maintenance. They don't have anything.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah.
I don't know if.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we want to hear.
Progression, yeah.
Great.
So I don't know if it's maintained regularly by their DPW or I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it was just nice to see, be with a bunch of other commissioners, everybody sharing and with the same, kind of thought process and getting to see how everybody handles it, It was good.
So I tried to attend some of the legal, quasi-political type sessions. So the first one I attended was a special session on the status of conservation in New Hampshire, which was a forum with Senator Martha Fuller Clark, Roger Cressman from the Trust for Public Land, and Jim O'Brien from the Nature Conservancy. Jim also was a selectman and has served in the conservation commissions as well. So, and they just spoke about various aspects related to LCHIP, but also there was a study done over the summertime by a commission that Senator Fuller Clark was part of, and she spoke of how the results of that study will be coming out later in November, but it speaks to various actions that they believe the state needs to move forward with, as well as explored with some of the costs that were associated with it. The study also relied on these other two bodies to help them for content, also spoke and is going to, I'm told, is going to address some of the economic realities of open space and how open space contributes to the economy of the state, and how the return of investment is for open space is actually very good in New Hampshire, but there are places where we should do more. So I'm looking forward to getting that pointer. We were told that all that information, including the study and pointers, will be made available through the New Hampshire Association of Conservation Commission's website. And Nick was at the meeting, and he said they'll probably push that information with their newsletter. So if you haven't signed on and got yourself so that you're getting their monthly emails or whatever, you might want to, because you'll be getting more information on that. So I thought that was good to hear about. I also attended one about invasive insects that are either here in New Hampshire or that are coming, including the woolly algid, the green guy.
Emerald Ash Borer.
emerald ash borer.
That was in the news
And-
today.
And then, yeah, so emerald ash borer has been found in multiple places in New Hampshire. Hillsborough County is now a quarantine county, so there's restrictions on moving wood. In the county, it was found in Ware. It was first originally found in New Hampshire and Concord. It's been also found in the Laconia area as well, and it's been found down in Salem now. They believe the Salem is coming over from where it's been found in northern Massachusetts as well. So it's slowly spreading. They believe the woman from Fish and Game spoke about how it moves as a wave, and it moves about 1 to 2 miles a year as a wave as it moves from where it's going. She spoke about strategies of managing it and understanding it and learning about it, how some people are creating these special trees to attract it, to find out if it's really in the area or not. There's also ideas of pesticides, as well as they're starting to experiment with critters that will attack the emerald ash borer. But essentially, it's here in New Hampshire, and it'll probably predominantly be across the state at some point in time. So we didn't spend a whole lot of time on woolly algae because we ran out of time. And then we've got the other guy there, the black beetle with the white dots. So
Asian
Asian
longhorn.
Asian
longhorn
longhorn,
beetle.
who's not been found in New Hampshire yet. Then the last session I went to, Cindy was there as well. It was put on by DES. Actually, a lot of great information about wetlands and how we as a Conservation Commission can contribute in making people aware of them, as well as is some of our role, how our role is with DES when it comes to that. The information I was pretty much familiar with, but it was nice to get it all in one nice package. And as soon as that's available on the website, we can point all of you to that as well, because it talks about our role when it comes to wetlands and helping and assisting. So I thought it was a good meeting. I hadn't attended last year, but I certainly was worth the time this year. So, and like you said, it makes the commission smarter, so we can do our job better. So that's all I have. I've got a whole bunch of handouts and whatever as well, in case anyone's curious. But most of that information should end up on the website as well. Anyone else want to add to this part? All right, so I have a couple of small items, quick items when it comes to other business. At our last meeting, we discussed a few trees that were falling, or that were leaning into the Taylor property on Amherst Road. The town, I believe, on Wednesday is going to have a subcontractor go in and take care of it. The subcontractor has stated that the logs will be left for the Taylor family, and that the rest of the tree trimmings will go with them when they do their work. So, and then just to make you all aware, we have spoken in the past about the Merrimack Village District wanting to do a well on Mitchell Woods. Easement language has been passed back and forth between the town attorney and their attorney, and they've come together on it. I can forward you the easement language. I suspect at some point MVD will come back to us one more time so we can make a recommendation to the town council. The easement has to be signed or authorized through the town council and signed by a town representative, so it'll be coming your way at some point. So, but I suggested to Jill and MVD that they might want to come to us for a recommendation, even though I think we've been pretty much in agreement with going forward with this project anyway, since we've seen it a couple of times. So the easement language really just says what they showed us on the plan, where they have by state law, by state rules, they've got a ring around the well that they need to have a special protected area. The easement doesn't preclude forestry work as well, and it doesn't preclude the creation of a well building and support buildings and any other support mechanisms that need to be done to support the well. So we should be able to do some of our operations out there as well within that zone. So that's all I have for other business. Anyone else have anything they want to share under other business? Tom?
Yeah, if you look at the agenda for the town council, there's 2 items on there of some interest. One is the fluvial erosion update. being put together by NRPC. If you want to go on the town's website, you can probably download it. It's pretty extensive. I mean, look at this thing. It just keeps on going, man. I mean,
Generated a lot of paper, huh?
yeah, over 100, almost 100 pages.
Okay.
And they're talking about brooks and streams and culverts and roads and bridges and a bunch of other things, mitigation plans, emergency plans, earthquakes, floods. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff in there, and a lot of it has some impact on the Conservation Commission, because you had, what's his name, down off of Wilson Hill Road, next to the river.
Yeah,
John,
no, Bob McCabe?
Down McCabe, yeah. You know, there's some things there. So, you know, there's that,
Mhm.
that particular item. And the other one is, we were approached by a property owner on 5 John Lane for tree removal requests so he can put solar panels on his house. I suggested that they engage the services of the town forester to take a look at the abutting property. I don't think you have any control over that particular piece.
No.
You were at the meeting, I think.
No?
No, all right. But anyway, we've got a report from them. Again, it's part of the agenda package. You know, there could be a small-scale timbering project on there that would net the town between $1,000 and $3,000, because the pine on there is pretty, you know.
Pine on there's great. There's
Yeah.
some really nice tall trees on there.
Yeah.
Because
So,
I know the parcel very well.
you know, so, you know, that's what they're, you know, that's what they're coming back and saying, so.
If I may comment on that, that parcel, by the way, is in the Athletic Fields Needs Committee study report.
Oh,
Okay.
okay.
And it's been identified that that parcel would be an appropriate place to have a softball field at some point in time. So you might want to make sure that the project doesn't preclude that future use. Okay. The other thing to note, because of those great pines that are on that parcel, those pines kind of indicate to you what kind of soil is underneath there. It's a very sandy soil underneath there. So if you remove some trees, you might want to be careful that you don't create fall-down issues with other trees that are around there. But the town may want to consider the fact that there is a lot of sand there, so there could be a repository of material for a future use. I'll leave it at that. You know, if you want to save some money in the sand budget, you might have it right next to Public Works, right there on that parcel. So, because if you go out there, there's quite a BMX track out there that have been created by the folks in that neighborhood over time, and you can see all the sand and clay and everything that's in that area. So, but yeah.
It's interesting, there used to be a scout camp in a scout location in the northwest corner of Pelham. And they discovered when they were rebuilding some roads in the area that the soil complied with the state's spec for gravel.
Mm.
And they quarried the sand and the gravel out of there and used the money to develop it into and to maintain it as a public park area.
Yeah.
Okay, and it's a very large parcel.
Mm-hmm.
It's not huge. It's not as huge as Greater Woods or Horse Hill, but it's pretty big. And you know, they've done a lot of good work with that. It was quite the buzz when they did it, because nobody else had thought, oh, geez, you mean to tell me we could, you know, do that kind of stuff? It was at that time, it was a very creative process that they used to do that and to develop that park.
Yeah, so I raised that with you thinking the same way. The trees are worth some money, but you may want to consider doing a forestry project across the entire parcel, and then you may even want to think about some of the ground material to help provide funding for an athletic field there at some point, or some other activity. But that is part of that whole area is in the plan, so take a look at that.
Okay.
So, all right, that's part of my other job that I did back when. So,
Well,
Cool.
since we may be looking for alternative locations for some stuff,
mhm,
it's good to know.
yeah. All right, anyone else have anything else under other business? All right, so that takes us,
Did we want to talk about our get together with Chris or?
Mm. Yeah. So, Lauren, Mike, myself met with Chris Wells from the Piscataqua Land Trust. It was a very informal, general conversation about what services the Piscataqua Land Trust provides.
Conservancy.
Is that what it is?
Yeah,
Conservancy?
PLC.
Okay. For the rest of the meeting, it will be known as PLC.
Easier to say.
Chris was really informed on land acquisition matters and things of the sort. He's formerly an employee of the
Forest Society.
Forest Society, yeah, and other members of the PLC are also Forest Society alum, and they understand conservation. So he had a few things that he wanted to address before he got back to us on Merrimack potentially being part of their service area, or something that they would speak to us about. So it seems like he may be a good person to speak to in an advisory role, or maybe even helping us with the lands that we've deemed important to the town of Merrimack. So it was a good meeting, and he seems very knowledgeable, but still needed to do some checking with his board to see if we're going to be covered in their service area.
I think one concern, well, he's hoping that the board would approve. So right now, Merrimack's not part of their service area. They come down to Bedford, but not into Merrimack. So it's kind of the next logical jumping point for them. One thing he said that might be helpful is if we, as a commission, were willing to write a letter to say that we would enjoy having them in the town, like to see a local staffed land trust in the town, serving the town. Not that we would agree to work with them, or not that we would guarantee anything, just that we would welcome it and think it's a good idea, that we would not be opposed to it, just so that he can go to his board and say, they're welcome to have us there, we're not imposing on somebody, And if we were willing to sign off on a letter like that, I could draft it up and bring it to the next meeting. But I didn't want to write it if we didn't want to, or weren't interested in potentially
Why
agreeing
wouldn't
to
we
that.
want? Why wouldn't we want someone like that involved in town?
I cannot see a reason.
right, I can't either.
I think this is a dream situation. Because honestly, I mean,
Not that you have any strong feelings.
oh,
However.
I mean, not that I've been saying for the past 2 years that it'd be great if we could work with the land trust to do these things, but
Yeah.
oh wait.
Yeah, and that being said, we reached out to quite a few land trusts when we were looking for assistance in identifying, CFAs, and a lot of them have either their doors closed or they're just not in the business of helping outside their service area. It seems like PLC is. So, like Lauren said, it is a great opportunity. And I think if you wouldn't mind drafting a letter that we could look at in the next meeting, that would be fantastic, in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely would like to.
I think we're going to see more interest in this area in the next 2 years because the Merrimack Valley Regional Plan for Conservation was just completed, which we got a preview at this sit down. And depending on how that goes, there may be funding for projects in this area. So I imagine we're going to see statewide land trusts begin to do more work in this area as well.
Mm-hmm.
That'd be great.
So
So this is a good time.
it's a good time to bring them in, get our feet wet, work with them or other land trusts. Now is a good time to start this.
It'd be great if we could leverage our money with their money to do good things.
Right.
Yeah.
Good.
All right, yeah, please put something together.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else? All right, so that takes us then to the minutes of October the 20th. Any or everyone get a chance to take a look at them? Yeah. Oh, before we do that, I didn't put it on our agenda. I forgot. The survey, the annual survey from NHACC, I'll put that on our next meeting agenda. I apologize for not getting that. It is in the minutes that says I was going to do that, and I completely missed it when I put the agenda together, so just to let you know. So, okay, back to the minutes. Anyone look at them?
Yeah, I
Go ahead. You want to make a motion to kick us off?
make a motion to, well, I just gotta make a motion to review the minutes?
Second?
Okay, to approve with
Approve with corrections?
with corrections, okay. Go right ahead.
The first, all right. Page 1, line 7. We started at 6:30, 6:33 actually. Not 6.
Yep.
Page 2, line 2. RSCP is a rapid curing concrete patch. RCP is reinforced concrete pipe. I believe that acronym should be RCP, not RSCP. Down to line 39, and we did it later in the document. We did it correctly. I think we should probably make I know he did say island parcel, but I think we should probably start referring to that as Fields Farm, seeing that is in the deed that he did not want it named after himself. He wanted it named Fields Farm, so where Ken did say Ireland parcel, I know that was what was said, but can we correct that as to Fields Farm?
I think we can, because this is not a direct quote. It's not
Okay.
a double quote, so we can
Okay.
change that to Fields Farm.
All right, so page 3, line 14. Large beaver dam in the middle of the pond should be the large beaver lodge in the middle of the pond. And then on line 15, middle of the pond, after the word and, the beginning of the sentence, I would say that there should be a dam at the opposite end holding the water back. That make sense? Everyone follow that? No? Okay. And then again on line 16, about 2/3 of the way across, there is normal flow through the main man-made dam. I would say there is a normal flow through the man-made dam and an overflow.
Okay.
So, just for readability. Then I got a little lost on line 27. I'm not sure what the tape says, but from reading that, we was addressing the fact that we needed to, we weren't trying to determine if we were going to do something, we were determining what we were going to do. And when you read that sentence, it's difficult for me to understand what that sentence said. But I do remember.
So you just remove the word not?
Needs to determine. His opinion, the commission needs to determine what
yeah,
needs to
maybe
take place
not.
in the area. Simply that something needs to occur. Yeah, I was trying to figure out how to fix that to make it a little bit more legible, but it's,
Well, we could remove the word "not" on line 27 and then delete everything after the comma to the end of the sentence, right?
commission needs to determine what needs to take place there. Yeah, that's fine. Take place in the area, period. So there'd be a period after area, and the rest of that sentence would strike?
Correct. Be a period after area, yeah. And the word "not" is removed, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Page 4, line 10. Oh, I'm sorry, page 4, line 8. There's 35 potential sites presently. We don't have 35 active sites.
Ah, okay.
Page 4, line 10. Acting town manager, Macaulay, not Cannibal.
Yeah.
Page 5, line 10. I'm sorry, page 5, line 59. Outlet of the ponds should be singular outlet of the pond. About 2/3 of the way across that sentence. On page 6, line 30, and then right kind of in the middle, it's an experience-driven spot. I'm not sure. I read that. I finally figured out that I'm assuming that meant that someone with experience would be the one that would have to make the decision as to how that's going to work over there. Is that? If you could read that paragraph and see if that's what everyone else's understanding is.
Yeah, I think for the sake of the minutes, we could do like we did at the similar correction and delete everything after,
Yeah, that's
after
fine.
area.
Yep, that's fine. We could put a period at the end of area
Area
and
and delete
strike the
the-
rest of it.
Yeah,
I believe that was our comment was the fact that's a tight, difficult area, and it's going to probably have someone with some experience to make the assessment as to what goes on there.
Yeah.
Was, I think, what ultimately was, and then that was it for me.
okay. Anyone else have any other corrections? I know there's quite a bit of detail there, and I'm glad that Don was able to capture a lot of that.
Yep, she did.
It's a great summary.
Yeah.
All right, seeing no other corrections?
All right.
All those in favor of the minutes as corrected, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, abstentions? That passes 402, with Cindy and Lauren abstaining, and for the record, Tom Mahon left the meeting at 8 o'clock, which was just before we took up the minutes. Great. So that takes us now to the end of our agenda. There is no one from the public to comment. Commissioner comments? I'll start with Mike, since I started on the other side last time. Any comments?
No.
Lauren?
Nothing.
Cindy?
Nope.
Wow, first meeting and no comment. Wow. Matt?
Nope.
Gage?
Welcome aboard.
Oh, thank you.
I'm good.
So the only comment I have is that we still have openings on the commission. If anyone is interested, please put your name in. We're looking for it. We don't require any experience. All we require is desire, right? And I think, actually, we don't require anything because it's the council that appoints, but I think that's pretty much been, the right desire, and you can learn on the job. So that's all I have.
Move to adjourn?
Second.
Moved by Cindy, seconded by Matt. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Abstain, objections? It passes 6-0-0. It is now 8:12 p.m.
Have you know that that's 3 meetings in a row.
$1,593.48.
ending the month at $28,733.79. Museum passes made up the majority of that.
Do we buy those in January? Is that it, or February? Is that a
It's the
yearly?
beginning of the year, right? Well, there's a couple of them.
They're all different
Yeah,
renewal
but a
dates.
big
Okay.
chunk of them are
Alright.
this time
This
of
is
year.
February spending.
Yeah. This was for the aquarium, the Museum of Fine Arts, the Children's Museum in New Hampshire.